Alright, greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to another Kong-tastic episode of Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest on the Game Boy Advance. And strangely, the subtitles were actually dropped for the Game Boy Advance releases, so yeah, this game is not, there is no Diddy's Conquest subtitle for this version of the game, nor is there a Dixie Kong's Double Trouble subtitle for the third game, but that's besides the point. We're heading into my personal favorite world in the game, K. Rool's Keep. Why is it my favorite? Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to get into that as the playthrough goes on here. Starting out, you have Arctic Abyss, which is a brand new level type. And yeah, so starting off here, you can grab yourself a Kong barrel and a few bananas by heading up over that way. Let's see. And that thing is in my way. Which is kind of an annoying thing I keep talking shop in this playthrough. I hope it's not too annoying or whatnot. But this level is an ice cave-ish level. I guess it's the only thing, I don't know, I guess the jungle levels count, but those looked pretty different. It's one of the few things to repeat from the first game in terms of level theming. But this is pretty different as well because, you know, in the original game, there was only one ice cave level, which was weird. Usually they'd use same themes more than once in the first game, but for some reason, I guess they just didn't have enough ideas about what they wanted to do with that ice cave tile set that they made, so they just didn't bother. But at any rate, we have our first bonus barrel of the area. This one's pretty easy. All you gotta do is go ahead and nab all these frickin' stars. And I don't know, it's pretty easy. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, I guess if you're not moving around using Unguard Stab enough, you might miss enough to fail this bonus room, but I don't know, I don't think I've ever lost it personally. Let's kill this, I don't know, what are those called? Puff Toss? Puff Toss is the boss in DK64. I can't remember what the blowfish enemies are called at the moment. Shows how much of a fan I am of this game, I guess, but I don't know. I've been pretty good about remembering enemy names in this playthrough, so bite me. Those are called Shuris. See, I've just redeemed myself, but you know what? I'll never be able to redeem myself for that failure that I had in that last espresso race. That was ridiculous. I'm gonna have to trade in my Let's Players card after that one. Let's see. Okay, so obviously one of the gimmicks with this stage is that the water level is constantly moving around. It's been a common theme, actually, in a lot of these levels. So our DK coin is back there, but don't worry. Eventually, the water's gotta rise up again, and then you can just backtrack and grab it. There's nothing preventing you from going back, which is nice. Because I feel like if this were a newer game, released in the 2010s, there would be invisible walls that would prevent you from going back, and would only exist to piss you off. So thankfully that's not the case here. We can go back, we can grab this, and then we're all set. So just something to keep in. This pretty much applies to all the water levels, but just, I don't know, I guess they really like this water effect they have going on here. It looks like they have line scrolling going on the, I don't know, maybe that's not line scrolling, maybe that's true 3D, I don't know. You know, the effect looks pretty good, so I guess they just wanted an excuse to show it off, maybe? Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss a certain room. Cause that would suck. Let's kill that fucker real quick. Alright, we got him. Alright, here's the place I didn't want to forget about. We have our second bonus room, I think. And that one I often miss, so keep your eyes peeled for it, kiddies. Kidlets. You know, speaking of which, I don't know if I ever did decide on a name for people who watch our Remake or Rebreak. Because that was like the thing I did at the end of the Pac-Man World video, as I was talking about, Roarlings, what should we call you guys? Since most of you who watch this Let's Play channel probably watch my main one as well. In fact, if you're only here if you discovered me randomly just as someone to watch LPs from, then that's kind of an interesting thought. I would not have guessed that, but my guess is most of you probably do not fall into that category. So, tell me, what should I call you guys? What should I call the EXO fan base? Oh, speaking of the EXO fan base, a viewer, a watcher of this channel has created an EPG Discord. So if you want to go check that out, I'm sure he will post a link in the comments. You guys can go there to, I don't know, whatever it is that people do with fan Discord servers. The idea of me having one is just strange and alien to me, and I'm personally not going to really be doing much with it because I don't even really like being in servers with my friends, let alone people I don't know. It's nothing personal against any of you guys. I'm sure you're all lovely people. But yeah, that's there if you want to check it out. And yeah, so let's go chat with Cranky Kong real quick. You can't keep away, can you? Here, take this picture of me. You can look at it when you're feeling a bit lonely. I'd have never been kidnapped in my day, not like that fat fool donkey. Go ahead, test my amazing knowledge. And we have a whole bunch of hints, alright. After the start, a long jump and then a high jump will win you more than just a gold medal. Brave an early attack of barrows and their hidden treasure is yours. Watch very carefully at the end. There's something going down that could give you a new life. I ain't helping you with this one. It's up to you to start looking yourself. Get it? I've left a couple of animal buddies for you in here, but it's left for you to find them. Get it? When cannonballs are raining down on you, I suggest that you look for a way past who's responsible. Those are all pretty good hints, actually. Don't be surprised if I'm gone next time. I'll be in a real game. Alrighty. Let's see. And we can talk to Clubba, but we actually aren't going to have enough to go to the last Lost World stage until we've beaten the final boss, actually, so... Yeah, we won't be going back to the Lost World until basically the end of the game. And you know, I might have actually saved the last level for last, but I digress. And like I alluded to in a previous episode, you can either do the Lost World in one big run if you want to, or you can save it for later. Well, that didn't go according, and I fell through the platform. Okay, so someone tell me something I've never understood about Castle Crush here. As you can see, there's like two pieces of the platform, and the level is like going in between them. I don't understand what I'm looking at, I think is what I'm trying to say. Because it's almost like I'm standing on top of the space in the middle, but that doesn't... For God's sake. Alright, now we have Rampy. That was our hint from Cranky. And apparently Cranky's the one who's been leaving all these animal barrels for us to find. Which I actually didn't know, but... yeah, he told us it's left to you to find them. Get it? You gotta go left. And there's another animal buddy barrel later on in the stage, so we're gonna have to keep our eyes peeled for it. Keeping your eyes peeled sounds painful, doesn't it? Now I've made your eyes hurt. See? Imagine being stabbed in the eyeball. Yeah. But anyways, this level I used to kind of, like, the first time I played it, I found it a little bit tricky, but it's one of my favorite ones to play now. And like I was getting at earlier, K-Reel's Keep is my favorite world in the game, and I just think it has the best levels in the game, honestly. That's my big reason. But that, and it's these are the only castle levels in the entire Donkey Kong Country series. Like, I don't know, I guess you could count Creepy Castle from DK64 in terms of the larger Donkey Kong franchise, but, you know, there's something about these castle levels that has just always stuck out to me. And I do have to mention, they did indeed change, kind of, like, in terms of which levels look the most different on GBA, this I can definitely tell they changed the colors, but again, I think you have to play this game on the original screen to really understand what it's supposed to look like, because on my DS screen, this game looks great. But then I'm looking up at my GBA capture window on my, my software window, which is what I'm using to record this game in OBS and whatnot. And it's in a completely different color space, like I was alluding to earlier in the playthrough. There's RGB color space, that's mostly what computers use, and then there's YUV color space, of which there are multiple variations. And MP4 files are encoded in a color space called YUV420 planar, and it's actually the same color space, I think, that CRT televisions use. So I guess my point is, the game itself is rendered in RGB, but the screen is YUV, and whenever so basically there's color space conversion going on here. So that means that if you're playing this in an emulator, the colors are not accurate to how they would be on the original hardware because of color space conversion and what. Well, I can't believe that I missed that. We get to come back for that. Cause like at this point, my two choices are kill myself and try again that way, or I can finish the level and try again later. Because, I don't know, I guess this is just the more efficient way to go about it, in my opinion, but I don't know, I don't think it would make much of a difference time-wise. Alright, here's our second animal buddy here. Squawks the Perito. Some of my Hispanic viewers, please remind me what the Spanish word for parrot is, so I don't remember, and maybe I never even learned it to begin with. And we're actually getting pretty good on our DK coin numbers there. I think we're at 43 out of 68. And I think, I don't know, we get a good 14 or 15. Might have to see that number again. I'm just bad at math, people. That was not my strong suit. Yeah, the graphics look great on my DS screen. And, like, you can hardly tell that the sprites were changed at all. It's only when you play it in, like, an emulator or in, like, this kind of pixel-perfect quality that you see some of the imperfections. But, yeah. Regardless, Castle Crush, was a level that used to kind of annoy me. But over time, it's become one of my favorite ones because, I don't know, over time, this game has just become really easy for me. So, like, even though I used to find this part right here, like, we have spinies on one end and clamp-ons on the other. You can obviously roll into one of those and jump on the other, so I find it's easier to take out the spiny first. And once again, we have our roll ability for taking care of these mini-neckies. And yeah. I mean, it's like, this game, I cannot stress enough that your roll ability is pretty essential. So if you're not making use of it, then yeah, you are gonna have a harder time with this game. Cause it just destroys enemies, and the roll jump ability, like, completely breaks the platforming, and it's just, I don't know, I feel like there's nothing unfair about that. This section here is a little bit tricky, but if you have Dixie, it's a little bit easier because you can fly, and float and miss out that, or avoid the obstacles that way. You can easily kill them with a roll. These three guys, also killable with a roll. Over here we have some zingers, and we have to step in the part of the shaft that's farthest away from them, and then the floor kills them. I don't know how that works, but, if they could go back upwards through the floor, that would be some shit. You wouldn't really be able to dodge them, so probably a good thing that they did that. Probably a nice touch. Alright, so we're gonna go grab this barrel and kill this zinger real quick. And nab a few bananas. And we managed to time it correctly by complete happenstance to get that target. To get the extra life, that's what I'm trying to say. Can't speak good English today. And I somehow managed to miss both the golden feather and one of the bonus rooms. So I'll be right back, folks. We're gonna cut back to when we get those things. Alright, and we are back, gentles and ladiesmen. Here's our lovely bonus room that we missed earlier. As you might recall, I mistimed our supercharge ability, and thus we missed out on our opportunity to enter the stage, but... So you can see, it's pretty easy bonus room, which is why it sucks that we have to redo the stage just for that. As for the golden feather, it's a way upwards in the stage, and it's kind of hidden in a corner, which is why I missed it. So we are going to be cutting back to when I retrieve that as well. Alright, and there is the golden feather. Like, Jesus. Kind of talk about hiding it in plain sight, but anyways. With that, we are finally done with Castle Crush, and we can move on to the third stage in the game. Now, I believe that... Like, I know for a fact that the levels were reordered in the GBA version of K-Rool's Keep. By the way, watch out for that Kaizo trap right there. I know for a fact that the levels were reordered in K-Rool's Keep for the Game Boy Advance version of the game. And I believe it was this level and... No, I think it was Windy Well and Chainlink Chamber that were reordered. So they moved some of the levels around, so if you're used to the original, you might notice that coming up, but... Yeah. So up here we have both our DK coin and our golden feather in the same spot. Once again, I wonder if this little alcove up there existed in the original, because... one of the interesting things about the golden feathers is, you know... There are these little alcoves where there was nothing in them in the original, and then they used those sometimes, if the level had them anyway, to store the golden feather. I digress. So the gimmick of this level is that Clapper the Seal is back, and since I have misplaced my club, we cannot do him in, as it were. But instead we can hop on top of him to freeze the water and use it for transit. And once again, it is amazing what Seal Spit can do. I bet Alger the Side Quest Gamer wishes he had some so they could sell it along with the snake oil. But at any rate, here's kind of a obscure bonus room there. There is a banana next to the wall, like the one in Arctic Abyss. But this one, there's only one banana and it was next to one of those pufferfish guys. Get down there, you. Have to use Unguard's Super Stab ability to get through there. And we're already nearly halfway to our next Lost World stage there. Not to be confused with Sonic Lost World. But... Yeah, so Clapper frees the ice much like how he used to be able to turn lava into water. Because he's just a magic man. Up there is a hidden barrel that will allow us to go down into the water with the snap jaw and collect that, what's it called? Scrapbook photo. And I have a feeling that I probably missed at least a couple of those, but thankfully, we can just use our Wrinkly hints to show us where they are. And that'll give me a chance to, you know, show off how that works. I will say this, that the hints for the scrapbook are expensive, so I wouldn't be too dependent on them. And as after all, we only have so many banana coins, even in this game where they save for the entire time and whatnot. What am I doing? Sorry about that, folks. Thought I had spotted a technical error, but turns out it was nothing, thankfully. Here we have our Wrinkly. I hope you'd better behave than those reptiles. Why, I even caught one sharpening his sword in class yesterday. Alright, so let's buy some of these. Finding these aren't necessary, but they will be useful if you can. Items become visible when you touch them. Press the R button to power him up, then release it for his super stab. Use this to break open hidden doors. When he rears up, make sure you get off the ground. Ooh, that was an interesting hint. I don't think there was a Area Guardian hint in the original. Wink, wink. You might be able to see what's coming up next. Let's see. We're up over here to Windy Well, which is one of my other favorite levels in the game. Like I said, there's just like all the levels in K-Rool's Keep are just really solid. I enjoy pretty much all of them, and there are also some of the more challenging stages in the game as well, so it's, you know, And this game, in my opinion, has really solid, tight difficulty design. So, you know, the challenging stages in this game are often the most enjoyable. Obviously, there are a couple of annoying ones like Fiery Furnace, but, you know, Windy Well is pretty fun. So the gimmick of the stage is we once again have wind. And I'm not talking about Carl Pilkington's Auntie Nora, who had wind for 5 minutes. We are talking about wind that comes from the bottom of the stage and pushes you up towards the top. Meanwhile, we have zingers to avoid because the level designers couldn't get enough of those guys. And much like with squawks and with swimming controls, you can press up and down on the what do you call it? You can press up and down on the D-pad to increase the speed at which you go up or decrease it, which is nice thing to know about. So if you're having trouble dipping and ducking in between the zingers there, give that a try, and that should sort out any issues you may have. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. This level's just really fun. It is a little bit long, I guess, but you know, it's thankfully we're done with the part of the game where they decided that they needed to put every single DK coin as a possible prize you can get from the end level minigame thing. That's all done and over with, so, you know, you shouldn't, as long as you're paying attention, you shouldn't have to redo these stages. Let's see, I think I can go over that way, and I think that's our first bonus room over here. Alright, so you might remember earlier how I mentioned that all the bonus barrels in the original game used to shoot you upwards. Well, I think that's a pretty good example of why, you know, where it's more noticeable, because in the original it'd shoot you upwards and you get that banana coin, but in this remake, since they took that out and made everything a warp barrel, basically, you can't get that. You'd have to go up on the upper pathway to get that banana coin, which isn't a big deal, mind you. It's just something I thought I'd point out. Let's see. Grab that banana coin, because we're going to be needing quite a few of those coming up here. Because we've got a few things. We've got our last swanky quiz coming up, and we've got plenty of hints we're going to have to go back and grab as well. Alright, so now that we've reached this kind of halfway point of the stage, this is where the wind gimmick gets a bit more interesting. So the moment we jump, the wind will activate. So as long as you stand and don't jump, it won't activate. And if you only have the one Kong, you can't do your team up move. Oh, fuck you, stupid Cutlass. So over there, you're given kind of a risk versus reward scenario where you can either jump and grab the power-ups, or the pickups rather, but have to dodge the zingers and whatnot. We're gonna have to give that another try. And unfortunately, the only way to do that is to commit Sudoku. And yes, that was an intentional joke just now. That was not me. I know it's seppuku. But at any rate... this level's just fun. I don't know what else to say. All the levels in K-Rool's Keep are just really solid levels that I really enjoy replaying. And I sort of alluded to this earlier. In fact, I probably went on a long tangent about it, but who cares? You get to hear it again. One of my favorite things about Donkey Kong Country 2, compared to every other Donkey Kong game, besides maybe Returns had this, is I like how you start at the bottom of the island and work your way to the top. That might seem like a really minor little detail, but, you know, for me personally... Okay, I don't think that was supposed to happen. I'm trying to figure out how to get up there without hitting those zingers. Oh, come on with that. Thankfully, we keep getting lucky and weaving in between those zingers, otherwise I'd be one pissed off, low-rate YouTube commentator. Alright, got it. But back to what I was saying, if I can remember. Yeah, it's so you start out at the bottom of the island, and coincidentally, you also happen to start at Gangplank Galleon, which was the last thing you saw in the first game. Just as kind of way of saying, you thought that you'd seen everything? Well, guess again, this thing that you ended off the last game with is just the beginning, my friends. And over the course of the game, you climb up the island bit by bit, and you can't even see the whole thing right away. Especially in the GBA version where they make the island overall bigger. You know, because all the maps in this version of the game are redone. And personally, I think they look a lot better in this version of the game. Okay, so we have a bit of a tricky wicket here. Alright, so normally what I think you're supposed to do is you're supposed to jump on top of that clobber before he falls off, and then use the barrel to kill the cutlass, but thanks to me discovering in this, my 51st playthrough of this game, probably, I discovered that you can, as long as the cutlass's swords are down, you can indeed jump into them like normal. Or, I mean, roll into them. So, yeah. And it's just, you know, it's just a great way of accelerating the tension and whatnot, and this episode has gone on for 26 minutes, so join me next time when I continue to run my mouth about this, one of my favorite games of all time. Until then, I'm Exo, and I hope you enjoyed the episode.